Hello and welcome everyone. This is Irene Joroge from Catholic Center. Very excited to come on and discuss this topic. We saw the news release about a week and a half ago that about 83% of Kenyan employees have checked out mentally from their workspaces. And as a mental health clinician and a behavioral therapist, I would like to just start this conversation to see what's happening in our nation and also to offer some insights to employers on some of the solutions that I suggest people to implement and to help people move and have a sense of belonging and sense of connection in the workplaces. So just to start a bit about me, I am a mental health clinician and a behavioral therapist, and I've been in practice for over 15 years now. My practice predominantly have been outside the country in Canada, where I have been involved in clinical practice, in education, in research, in program development, and also as an expert content reviewer for materials pertaining trauma-informed care. And that is what Catholic Center does. So I do have an extensive background in mental health and complex trauma, and that is in which the point in which I would like to address this topic and discuss it. So, as you can see, you see a bit of my academic and professional journey. I won't take so much time on this. I will leave it there, and people are able to view it even on my LinkedIn profile. It is available there. This is where now I want us to start. This news headline: majority Kenyans have mentally quit jobs, just holding on. And this is a study that was released about 2 weeks ago. So for me and for the team that I work with here at Catholic Center, I say this news is not news because this is expected to us. And I'll tell you why it is expected. It is unfortunate to see this for the time where we know so many people are looking for work, so many people are leaving universities with very tremendous skills. To see this, it's not a very pleasant sight for somebody like myself who is in the mental health field. So this is why this is not news, why we are not surprised. As a trauma-informed mental health service provider, we see clients coming to us requiring help with either mental illness, requiring therapy for various situations that are causing stress, whether it is in relationships, it is in their work, or in any other areas in which they socialize. And what, as a trauma-informed model, we look at when a client walks into us, we don't see someone coming in with a problem that we are going to solve. We look at our clients as people who come to us with their solutions. And I put their solutions because whatever behavior, whether it was drinking too much, whether it was using some psychoactive substances, whether it was missing work, whether it was engaging in aggressive behavior or high risk behaviors, we look at that as a solution that someone invented to be able to help themselves cope in their life. The reason we look at it this way, because the same person is the only one who can help us first identify what their problem is and identify how that behavior was helping them. And so when we are looking at this news headline, we are not surprised that 83% of Kenyans are absent at work. Our question is, how is that helping them? How is that not being attuned to their work, not being mentally present in their work, not being engaged in their work? How is that helping them? And that is the basis in which we are going to have this discussion. So I received a call from an entrepreneur who said to me, Irene, you're in the mental health field. Did you see the new headline? And I said, yes, I did. And the question this person had was, what is it? Is this burnout? And I could not leave that question behind as I start this conversation, because many of us think, you know what, I'm just burnt out. This is not what I checked in for. So what is burnout? And I will start this from a review of research, because we are an evidence-based center. Research from Dr. Christina Maslach, and this is based on a 35-year research. And for people who may be attending this webinar who are professionals in this field, you may have heard about the Maslach Burnout Inventory, a tool that we use to assess burnout in clinical practice. So according to this tool, burnout is actually defined according to three components. One is exhaustion. And exhaustion is that feeling of being overextended and exhausted by one's work. And the other component is depersonalization, which it's a loss of empathy or regard for others. This could be customers or clients, could be your colleagues, and actually just keeping an emotional distance, which often is expressed through some cynical, derogatory remarks, and sometimes callousness, even at work, in the relationship that we're having with other people. And that component in the definition of burnout is professional efficiency. And I would want you to pay attention to this because this is the defining factor. They define professional efficiency as the satisfaction with past and present accomplishments and expectations of continued effectiveness at work. Meaning, I, as an employee, have experienced satisfaction from my past skills, my past work engagement, my past employers. And so I come in this space that I am in now with a sense of accomplishment. And from that, I have hope and I have expectation that the work that I am doing in this organization now, actually it is work that I can be effective at and it's work that I can succeed in. So it's actually giving me that morale and motivation to continue. If I come with a background of failure, if I come with a background of I didn't do so well, maybe I have some things that are still unresolved, even in the current work that I'm in, perhaps I won't be as present, I won't be as effective. So what Mashlak and her colleagues found out is actually this professional efficiency, it's the safety valve for burnout. And when we are exhausted in our work and when we are feeling depersonalized, we are feeling like we have no empathy, we have no regard for others, this is what protects burnout from fully taking seat in how we are feeling emotionally. And we cannot agree. Work is hard, work is difficult, work is never easy. It's not a lot of us who can say we actually like work because it's easy. What we like is the experience we get from the work that we do when that work has meaning and value for us and maybe for another person. And so most of us have worked or continue to engage in environments where work is very exhausting. And sometimes we also don't feel like we are connected to it. We are not connected to our colleagues. We are not connected to what is going on. Perhaps it's not our passion. And so when those two are there, which in most cases they will be there because many of us work in work environments that we don't enjoy, but we do it to pay bills, to meet our day-to-day expenses and all of that. So we may experience exhaustion and personalization or loss of empathy and regard oftentimes, but whenever one comes in with professional efficiency, that becomes the safety valve that helps one from burnout. And I hope that is clear. So first things first, as a therapist, it is important that even as I am treating people who come in with what they call behavioral issues, first I have to understand what their expected behavior from their point of view. And also from what I know through my skills and in clinical practice, what is the expected behavior? And this, without understanding that, then I won't be able to know what is the deviation here, or how can I support, or how can I educate this person. Subsequently, I think it is important that before I even address this issue, which is to many of us, it's an issue of human failure, we have to understand what makes one a great human being in the first place. Why are we complaining that majority of the workforce, they've checked out? Are these great people? Are they not great people? So what makes you great? What makes one a unique human being? And I want to address that in this other slide here. To say, actually, what makes you unique, what makes you you, what makes me Irene, what makes me great at what I'm doing, it's my understanding of these three things. One, it is my personality. What is my temperament? Am I a sociable person? Am I a person who is more introverted, who likes to think through logic, data, numbers? Or am I a social person who uses my senses of sight, of smell or all of that to engage with nature and with other people. We all have different temperaments, and we've had them from other contexts. I'm sure you've had some of us being called sanguines, or choleris, or melancholic or phlegmatic people. That is what we mean with temperaments. Those temperaments, they play a role in our personality, and it's very important for us to understand that. And that they tell us how we think. How do I even learn? Beyond even that, when I'm engaging with other people and I want to appreciate people and I want to be appreciated, what is my love language? This is something that is of our love language. We can do it right out in the public domain, in Google and all the other platforms. You can go in there and check your love language, because if you don't understand what your love language is, and also perhaps if it's your partner or your colleague at work, even in times when we appreciate each other based on what we think we like. And that is how, for example, if I like to be affirmed, I, as an employer, think that affirming my employees is a good thing. Maybe there's one employee there who does not care about being affirmed. Perhaps that employee just wants you to spend quality time understanding the difficulties in their lives, what's going on in their personal life, but also what's going on in this work. Perhaps this person just wants to be appreciated with, a pen that, it's written Catholic Center, that they can show that element of being gifted. So love languages, we have about 5 of them, and it's very important that we understand, even with our employees, so that we can appreciate them in meaningful ways for them. So that is on personality. The other aspect of that is our talents. Without understanding what our talents are, perhaps we are going to fall short in how we show up to ourselves, but also how we show up in our work environments. And our talents, we have several of them. Many of us have perhaps more than 2, others have 1. But we do have physical talents. There are many of us, even in work environment, where some people are very physically fit. They are strong. They're able to work with their hands. They're able to do things that maybe a population of people there are not able to do that. Others have cognitive talents. The people who call themselves, scientists and mathematicians. These are people who are able to work with numbers, go through numbers, and actually put meaning in those numbers. People who are able to solve those difficult arithmetic and cognitive functions. Those are people considered to have cognitive talents. Others have emotional talents, and emotional talents is that emotional intelligence, being very socially aware, emotionally attuned to our own needs, the needs of the other person. And those emotional talents are very, very important as well. And we also have some of us with social talents, some of us who find it very easy to stand in front of people and give a presentation, entertainers, entertain people, bring people together, bring warmth and an element of camaraderie in the environment. So all of those are talents that we share. And even in work environment, it's important to understand, what is my talent? Is my talent my physical strength, my cognitive capacity, my emotional awareness, or my social cohesion? Because when I understand that, then I can give that, or I can use that as a way to promote my professional efficiency. And I can use that to enhance the relationship that I have with my colleagues and my team. And the last one is our passion. And this, I would say, your passion is whatever it is that you can do, and without even expecting to be paid or acknowledged for it. That which you dream in the night and you wake up in the morning thinking, ready, full of energy, I'm going to do it. And sometimes we even ignore the outcomes, even when they're blaring at us as negative outcomes or consequences. So that passion, and for me personally, as a therapist, my passion in mental health is my driver. It is what I think about when I'm having my me time, my personal time. This is what I want to give back to society. This is what I can go into a church, for example, or a school, and do a talk for free, because I love and enjoy. So that which you enjoy, and unfortunately, majority of us, we know what our passion is, that passion has not been given an opportunity for us to actually do work that is meaningful and earn from that work. So many of us are stuck in jobs where we are not passionate about that work, but that is the only way that I'm able to earn and feed my family and feed myself. So, but understanding what your passion is First, it keeps you motivated because you are thinking about something greater and bigger than you. And number two, understanding your passion allows you, even when you are doing this work, to realize it may be hard. Yes, I may not have any regard to it or to the people that I'm working with, but I know there's something that I'm so passionate about that this work can become a stepping stone for me to achieve that. And that is so important. So these three things are important for us to understand so that whatever, when how we show up in the world and how we show up in our work environments becomes meaningful to us, and we show up in our greatness. When you are in the dark, when you do not understand these three things for yourself, unfortunately, many of us, you are going to be in the number that operate in autopilot. And that is a very frustrating place to be. One thing I would like to highlight is our greatness. That you that is great is actually born in childhood. You may not have been born great as you are. We were all told we are born in the image of God. We are great people. But that greatness is enriched, it's intertwined, and it is shaped in childhood. A lot of us, our childhood are not environments that were able to facilitate that greatness either. For us, our temperaments, well, we were very social, happy people. We went through things in our childhood that forced us to hide that part of ourselves, to cover it, because whenever we showed up like that, we were either punished, we were not acknowledged, we were bullied. And so our childhood teaches us a lot of things. And this is why I say our childhood leaves us an imprint that teaches us what to expect from reality, but also how to respond to what is happening. And relationship with our parents in our childhood becomes the most important ones because they give us the maps, those templates about how the world works. For many of us, we eat food. How did you know that the spoon is supposed to scoop food from your plate and put it in your mouth, not on your hair? It's because you were taught. Perhaps your mother taught you. Perhaps whoever caregiver you had taught you that. So it's very important to understand that our greatness, if you consider yourself a great eater, it is because that was nurtured. So whatever was nurtured in our childhood becomes which that gives us that energy and motivation. And when we have these maps from our parents, when we have these templates, they are actually what in psychology we call schemas. And I don't want to go too much about schemas because this conversation is not on schemas, but just allow me to highlight a bit about interpersonal or intrapersonal schemas, because this is where I see the challenge and the misunderstanding happening. We have many schemas of various kinds. We have object schemas that help us realize, for example, this is a notebook. It's not, a book to read. It's not a Bible or another text that is written. So we have place schemas, event schemas. We have people schemas and all of that. But the one that I want to highlight is this intra or interpersonal schemas. And this is our internal compass. Our intrapersonal schemas, our internal compass that informs or distorts reality about us. And our interpersonal schemas or intrapersonal schemas, they actually form in our childhood relationships or experiences. And they teach us these two things. Number one, they teach us what to expect from reality. And number two, how we should respond to the event that just happened or that is happening. As children, and I want you to imagine yourself as a child, our intrinsic need is to belong and to connect with our parents. No child wants to be outside of that realm of love, of the protection that we feel from our family. So our schemas of how to relate with other people and how to relate with ourselves are actually adapted from childhood based on either making mom and dad love us, making mom and dad happy, or making them function as a unit or remain intact with us. For many of us, what we think is good is actually what was acknowledged or appreciated at home by mom and dad. What we think is happy or makes us happy, it is what we saw from that 2-3-year-old age, mom and dad happy about. So if performance at school is what was celebrated at home, what made mom and dad happy, and so they responded in happiness to me, then you can see how performance, being number one, having an A, having a 99% would become very, very important for me as a source of my happiness and what I look at happy. Not that that is what actually brings happiness, but you can see the schema that one forms from what is happening. So about love, about happiness, and also the element of being together with other people. If me not expressing my needs, if me not saying I lost my pen or I lost my sweater at school, actually may ensure that that night there was no disagreement between my mom and dad. You can see now when I am employing this organization, me not raising concerns, me not going forward and saying this is difficult for me, I need help, me not expressing any of my emotional needs will be something that I do because I knew when I expressed that as a child, chances are there was some element of strife in the relationship at home. So I just wanted to give that brief highlight of actually how our childhood creates that internal compass on how we relate with ourselves and how we relate with other people. So I say that we are not surprised, or I am not surprised that 83% of Kenyans are checked out. So what is it that is going on, or what do I think is going on? And I will say, and I can say this confidently, that for me the problem is not character; it is connection, and this is why. When we looked at burnout and how Marshak and her colleagues describe burnout with those three functions of one is being the exhaustion, number two is the depersonalization or loss of regard, and number three was this professional efficacy or professional efficiency. We saw that professional efficiency is actually the protective factor. And this is the one I want to expand more so people can understand why it is a protective factor. If professional efficacy or efficiency is low, there is no fulfillment in any environment. Whether it is work, whether it is at home, there is not going to be fulfillment in whatever one is doing. And so we tend to keep emotional distance. Whenever we are not fulfilled, we tune out. And it's not just because we are employees, even when we are mothers and fathers and partners and spouses, we tune out. We create that emotional distance. And one way for you to understand or to realize your level of professional efficacy, it is by answering these questions as true to you. Okay? And these questions are displayed here, 6 of them. And these are borrowed from that Marshall burnout inventory. And I pulled them here because they help one understand, number one, what professional efficacy is, and number two, how do I know whether I have achieved it? So if you can answer this as true, you have achieved it. In your environment where you're working, I can easily understand the actions of my colleagues and supervisors. Is that true or not? I deal with other people's problems successfully. Is that something that's true to me? I feel that I influence others positively through my work, or I feel full of energy when I wake up, when I'm going through my day, when I'm at work. What kind of energy am I bringing in? I find it easy to build a relaxed atmosphere at my work. And the last question is, I feel stimulated when I have been working closely with my colleagues. That camaraderie is very, very important. And according again to Maslow, connection is equal to professional efficacy or professional efficiency. And we are going to look at connection in detail here. So, if the problem is not character, is connection, how do we, as employers, how do we, as employees who've checked out, how do we, as partners, spouses, as parents, promote connection in the environment in which we are interacting with other people? And I am going to give this as a metaphor of you imagine these three as your three invisible connectors that actually allow you to experience or to create connection in your relationship. So what do you need? One, it's the space. And because of the topic for today, I wanted to look at space as the problem that we are talking about, okay? When we say it's not character, it's connection, That is it. That problem that we want to solve through this or to address through this conversation today. And what is the space? The space is the relationship in which we interact with each other. It's that work relationship that we have, that we can call ourselves accountants who work in this audit firm. We can call ourselves psychologists who work at Capri. That is the space I'm talking about. And that we interact with ourselves and others. And then the other connector is the bridge, and bridge is the solution towards connection. That is the vehicle that is going to carry us towards the solution, and the bridge is the awareness of ourselves and others. And the last connector is what we call the encounter, and this is what we achieve after we have identified and become familiar and attuned to our space. We've carried that through the bridge of through ourselves and to another person. We exercise and we are able to enjoy this encounter or the outcome, that experience that we share with others that has connection. And I'm going to explain this in detail in the next slides. So you know this, actually you live them, but you may not have thought about them this way. So let's start with the space. Again, I said the space is that we call, we call ourselves teachers, doctors, psychologists, accountants, any other professional or trade we call ourselves or we identify with. So there's a quote here from Martin Buber, who is a Jewish philosopher, who said, "Our relationship lives in the space between us, not in me, not in you, or even in the dialogue between us." And that space, he said, is a sacred space. Many of us think that our relationship with each other is in the work that we do. And when I'm talking about connection, I want you to listen keenly to this. Your relationship with your colleagues, really, as while we identify ourselves as therapists or psychologists, my relationship with the other person or with these people, it's not because we are psychologists. How many psychologists are in Kenya and even in the world? Do I have relationship with them? Do I have connection? So this is what Martin Buber is talking about. And if we don't know about the space, if we don't take responsibility for the space we live together, whether that space is at home, work, school, or elsewhere, we will automatically and unconsciously pollute that space. And how do we pollute it? We pollute it with a word, we pollute it with a look, a withdrawal, a criticism, a judgment, and that is what happens. And there's a quote, and I can't remember who said this, that what people don't understand, they reject. This is what happens, that many of us have come from different diverse backgrounds, some different diverse experiences and expectations and childhoods. And then we come into this space, let's use Catholic as an organization. We come here as therapists, as psychologists that have a passion of helping people. How well do we know ourselves? How well do we know our personality, our talents or gifts? How do we know our passion? And is this our passion? And when we have that space unknown, first for ourselves, I guarantee you, even in the space we share with the other as colleagues, our managers, and our bosses, we are going to interact in that autopilot that we talked about. So the space, once it's polluted, it becomes uncomfortable. And when it becomes uncomfortable, we start reacting to the discomfort, which now makes the space dangerous. And we all know what happens when we are threatened, when we are in danger. Just like in our brain, whenever one, for example, is chased by a lion, your brain goes into survival mode. And what does that mean? That you must outrun this lion, otherwise you're going to be eaten. So none of us wants to be consumed or eaten by that lion in our work environment. So we check out, because when we are in survival mode, we check out. And how do we check out? Many of us, we respond in the 4Fs. You've heard perhaps these 4Fs, and it's what we call in clinical practice. Our first F is the flight, the fight, flight, free, or freezing. Okay? Many of us fight. And how do we fight? When we don't understand when this space now is dangerous, we fight aggressively with our words, with how we interact with each other, with our demands, with our control and all of that, okay? We are fighting. The other one, we actually flight. or we run away. And how? It is the 83% of us, we run away, we are not there, our body is not there. But even as I'm coming to work, whatever I'm listening to, whatever I'm thinking has nothing to do with that work. My mind has run away from that environment because it's dangerous, it is threatening. And actually, this is where we start to see people now not being able to cope. Burnout kicks in. There is now, they already have the exhaustion, they have the depersonalization, but now the professional efficacy is missing. So they go fully into burnout. They are not able to function at all. You give someone an assignment or a deadline, and they're just looking, staring at space. It's like this person has skills, this person has education, this person was hired or employed in this organization because they were deemed to be competent to do the work they're doing. But over time, they no longer seem competent. Those are the ones that get freeze in that dangerous environment. And many people actually struggle with depression, sometimes suicidal ideation. And we've had a few people in Kenya actually take their life or complete or die by suicide because of that. And the last part is the phoning, and phoning is the negotiation. Many of us, we start phoning, negotiating, pleading for higher pay, pleading for maybe flexible schedules, pleading for a day off, pleading for a longer, leave of absence, or even maybe saying we are ill or feigning illness. So there are so many ways in which we start to negotiate in this dangerous environment because we don't want to interact with it. So as an employer listening today, I would want you to think about, or even as an employee, which ways have you seen people react to this uncomfortable, dangerous space? Is it by fighting? Is it by fleeing? Is it by freezing? Or is it by phoning? What is it? And every employer, every employee in any context of work can identify that. When that response or reaction happens, then the space becomes full of negative energy. And this negative energy is because we have co-created now. Now we reach to a point where we can no longer blame the boss. We can no longer blame the policies of the organization. We can no longer blame HR because we don't even know. Every single person is a threat to me. From the secretary to the gate man to whoever, even the janitor in the organization becomes a threat. And when we get there, a lot of us don't even know whether we should leave or stay, but we want to pay and we want to take our kids to school and to pay our rent. And so we continue to show up. So my hope today is that we can do something with this space. And I want to share some insights on what we can do with that space. So we are going to start to look at how do we clean this mess, this dangerous space that we co-created together. How do we clean the pollution? So let's take a look. Again, I said there were three invisible connectors. One was the space. Now we are with the bridge. And as you can see that gentleman standing there, his goal is to cross over to the other side. And this is what we must do in our work environments. If we are in spaces where we are feeling stuck and it's dangerous and we are fighting, we need to create or to build a bridge. And how do we build this? Through awareness and self-discovery. And I'm so glad for everyone tuning in today because you're starting to do that. You're starting to build that bridge through awareness and self-discovery. When you are in the dark, when you're not aware, you're going to continue to pollute the space. So how does this awareness, how does this bridge help us? It helps us to cross over to the world of the other person and to bring with us our full presence. As you can see, while this gentleman crosses over this bridge, he's going to arrive on the other side, full of himself, and meet the other person and become familiar, become aware of the fears, become aware of the temperament of the colleague, become aware of what the other person likes and prefers. And that is what I mean the bridge. When we become aware, we create that bridge, and which also helps us to actually snip the band that pulls us back to our prejudices, where we say, this tribe, they do this, Kikuyus do this, we work with Luos, you do this, you work with Luyas. we need to nip that bud that pulls us back to those prejudices, our stories of failure in the past, our stories of betrayal in the past, our roles, and even our ideal selves that we have created or co-created through the pollution that we polluted in our spaces. So that is what awareness does. It gives us first that self-discovery, not only that we discover who we are, but as a person, what do I bring into this space as I read? We look at what is my personality, what are my talents, and what is my passion. And so when I bring that greatness in the space, I also, through this bridge, understand the other person's greatness, and together we become greater. So that is what I mean with the bridge. And from the bridge, there is actually a quote, a very interesting quote here by Marcel Proust, who is a French writer, who said, "The adventure of life is not about discovering new landscape. It is about seeing the old one with new eyes." And while metaphorically today I use that bridge as if we are going to cross over, we are not going to do anything with the physical space that we work together. We may change a few things when we become aware of some of the things that trigger us, but most importantly is that manager that you could not stand talking to you because you felt irritated and agitated, that employee that you saw many times repeat the same mistake and felt disconnected, didn't want to even share your insight, didn't want to share feedback, or couldn't even receive feedback. This is what I mean, that discovering the adventure of life is not discovering new landscapes. It's not working in a new environment. It's not working with new bosses or new employees or new part of your team. It is looking at the team that you've been working, the environment in which you are in, with a new set of eyes. And those eyes, the only way we get them is through this kind of education. It's through this kind of self-discovery and awareness. So what I would like to say is that there is hope. If you are an employer who is facing this, there is hope. Things can change. And we are here to ensure they actually do. So once we cross that bridge, what's on the other side? Because we must have a promise, we must have a guarantee that there's something on the other side that we are going to arrive to. And that is what we call metaphorically the encounter. This encounter, it is our encounter with our own healing and growth. When we have been walked, when we've had this awareness and self-discovery, we experience healing and growth, which takes us to that meeting of two full human presences or souls. We are able to show up fully as ourselves because we have already determined our personality, we are aware of our talents and our gifts, and we are aware of our passion. And when we do that, and our colleague or our neighbor does that, or our partner does that, then we have that meeting of two full human presences. And what that does, it actually sheds our survival adaptations. Many of us have these survival adaptations that, we respond to life, and we have been convinced that this is the best way to respond. But maybe that's just what worked with mom and dad at home. That is what helped me to live with our 6, 7, 8 siblings. But that's not what I need. Well, those survival adaptations, they helped you at that time. In this organization, you are hired by merit. You brought in education, you brought in skills, experiences, and all these personality and talents and passion. So we don't need these. They have outlived their usefulness. So we shed our survival adaptations and embody our new, healed, and discovered self. We update our schemas. We turn off our survival brain. We allow it to rest. You no longer need to be activated to always keep me alive, because where the environment made me feel like there's a lion chasing me, I have now discovered that the lion that was chasing me is actually within me. I have discovered that the lion that I thought was chasing me, it's just being what lives within me that is triggered by my colleague Daniel, by my colleague Maureen. It is when I see my colleague show up late. It is when I hear a certain comment. It is when I hear my boss call me in the office. It's when I see a colleague being laid off. Those things trigger me. So it's not an actual lion. It is just the way I look at what is happening around me. And we activate our capacity for compassion, our own self-compassion, empathy for others, and actually deep understanding. So instead of just this autopilot response, you are late today, you are disrespectful, or why didn't you tell me that? Why didn't you do this? It's not my job. All of those things are how we pollute our environments. So deep understanding help us know that when we show up and we're in this organization to do work based on the vision and the mission of the organization, we are different, unique people who are gifted, talented differently with different passions. And when we appreciate that, we not only just become great, we become now greater together. And we are able to connect, to ignite now our personhood, our passion, and our purpose. And when we do that, we take up authority and responsibility in our lives, and we become more relationally intelligent. We are able to have that emotional intelligence to relate with other people, to relate with our needs, and to ensure those needs are met without necessarily tampering the environment. And we also show up in our mature self. So that is the encounter, and this is where I hope every employer tuning in tonight, every employee working with colleagues at work, every mother, every father, every partner or spouse can aim to achieve, to get this encounter of healing and growth, because it makes all the difference. Matters connection. Okay? So your take home today is the antidote for burnout and the fuel for motivation is self-efficacy, which is also called connection. That I hope that every single person will remember, that where we may not be able to prevent exhaustion at work, to prevent that people are not necessarily going to like the work, or we are not going to like the work we are doing, when we have self-efficacy or connection, we are able to coexist and to actually create safe spaces in our work and enjoy it. And number two, our capacity for connection is actually influenced by our individual experiences. Mostly, these experiences were borrowed from our early childhood. So, as much as we feel we are working with bad people, people who don't care, and all of that, chances are there is something within us. There is something that that person is triggering. And when they trigger that, then I pollute their environment with what I am feeling on the inside. And number three, awareness is actually what promotes healing and growth and improves connection. I am sure that majority of you tonight, you have taken home something that you feel a sense of growth with, because information and awareness does that. And when we become more aware, we connect better. Again, remember that quote that I'm not still sure who said it, that when what we human beings don't understand, they reject. And so that awareness helps us to understand that it's not just that people are bad, but we ask that question, what has happened to this person? Why has Mike changed? Why has Jane not shown up to work for a week, other than they are sabotaging us in our projects? Okay? And at Kavik, we actually educate, we train, and we treat to ensure or to connect you as a person with your passion and with your purpose. And that is our tagline. That is our mandate. Because we understand when that person, when you as a person, when I as a person experience that healing and growth, I will connect with my passion and I will exercise my purpose. Whether it is in this work that I'm doing now, or even in ways in which I give out my skills or my talents for the greater good of community. That is our passion. All right, I want to wrap that session with this quote from Kenyan that says, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And I will repeat, this is a German psychologist who said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Many of us have left jobs saying, we had a bad boss, I couldn't stand my manager, I couldn't stand my colleagues, my employees, they were doing this, they're doing that. Or we have also let go of wonderful people who actually have skills, people who have talents, but we've let them go just because of lack of that awareness of what's going on within us and with the person. So this quote from Kalian can start to help us realize that there's a lot that could be in our unconscious, and in our pursuit of connection, we raise it into our consciousness through awareness, through training, and through bringing that connection back into our workspaces. So at Catholic, we have a unique approach. We have a unique approach to connection. We have a unique approach to treatment, and even to promoting safe spaces where people can coexist and interact and be able to offer that sense of connection for each other. So our healing and growth comes from the connection between us as a person, our passion, and our purpose. And so we help individuals, we help couples and families, or institutions or organizations build the bridge. Remember those three connectors? While we understand that the spaces could be polluted, we come in and help you build that bridge. And when we build the bridge, we leave your organization, we leave your space feeling connected, and it becomes safe, where people are able to connect, to be vulnerable to each other. And how do we do that? We actually come into organizations, we conduct assessments of first the individual, the person or the persons working there, or the space in which they are working together. And when we do that, we are able to design interventions based on the needs of the people who work there and the needs of that organization. So it's a very comprehensive assessment that we do. We do it at senior level leadership, and we do it at management level. We do it with the employees or colleagues or teams that are working together, and design interventions that address. Together, we create the bridge for connection for that organization. And today, we actually have a gift for. So when we come to organizations, what you would ask, what do we gain? Your gain is one, accessibility. That we are able to deliver these interventions either here at Catholic Center for people who would like to use our state-of-the-art center, or at the spaces where you live, learn, work, worship, or even socialize. We have no borders. We go to people's home environments, in places of school or learning. We come to your work organizations, in churches, or even in your chamas where people socialize. Number two, you gain affordability. We all understand that therapy is expensive. So while we are doing this work, we either do it in group-based trainings versus individual work one-on-one, where we have the capacity and the skills to do one-on-one. We recognize the time factor and also the cost factor. So with groups, whether it is an organization, we do it with teams in that group. If an organization is too large, obviously we break it down, because learning and training requires some element of engagement. And when we have teams that are too large, we are not able to do that without breaking the teams down. So we may be breaking some teams into cohorts, but we do it in groups. That makes it cheaper. And the other thing, for one-on-one training, for one-on-one treatment that we provide for people who would want that other step of one-on-one, we are accredited by NHF, and we have private insurances as our partners now. AAR and CIC is an example, and most of these people are able to access this treatment covered by either the National Health Insurance or these other private insurances. And the number three gain is that we are one-stop shop. For us, as long as it's a mental health related issue, we are able to manage it. We are not going to say, well, you have been taking medication for depression, go see psychiatrist, so and so, and then come to us for processing your traumas or your grief. We are able to do that. We have a full team comprising of consulting psychiatrists, or psychiatric nurses, or psychologists, and all of those people that one requires to address mental health challenges. And so we are one-stop shop, including we are able to admit someone for treatment in the length of time that they require here at Catholic Center, even for the most complex cases. And as a one-stop shop, we also offer lifetime follow-up of all the clients that we treat in our inpatient program. We do not have an end point with our clients. They are physically discharged from us once they complete the program, but we continue to follow them as long as they require. We recognize that this is a journey. That journey of self-discovery requires one to keep the motivation, requires one to continue an element of self-compassion and empathy. And we want to partner with people to continue doing that. So today, we have a gift. We have a gift for everyone who is attending this webinar. For those of you who are employers or who are employees in work environment and you're listening to it and thinking, Irene, yeah, I think my work, my space is polluted. So we would want to invite you to collaborate with us to be able to clean up, to build that bridge together. So we are offering free workplace or school assessments and an introductory session to the first 5 organizations to register. We have a registration form that will be shared in our networks after this webinar. This is valued at $75,000 and we are offering this free for the people who joined tonight. Remember, people registered, so we are able to know who joined tonight. 5 organizations will going to do that free of charge so that people can start to see what kind of spaces they are in or they are working at. The other offer is on 50% of our 8 week self-discovery program. This is a program that we've been doing. When we talk about that element of self-discovery, discovering how maybe my childhood has affected me, discovering how I show up at my work, why my colleagues complain, why I can't get along with people, why I feel angry all the time. When people do this, I react this way. That is a program for you. And this program actually starts in September, but this discount is until mid-August. And the program is done once a week on an evening, and it's done virtually. So whether you are tuning in from the diaspora, you're tuning in from any part of Kenya, you can take part in this because we do it virtually. The total cost of this 8-week program for one person is $30,000, but we are giving it at 50% off for only $15,000. And one other element that was not put here is that actually this program, we recognize that for many people, you would want to do or you've done an online program seeking, self-discovery. Many of us sign up and then on week 2, week 3, we feel like, this is not for me. I wish I didn't sign up. And you just continue to do the program because you paid for it. At Kafrik, we are people first. So what we do is that for $1,000, you can just sign up for the first 2 sessions and just test, is it for me? And if it is for you, then you have the liberty to pay the rest of the cost to complete the program. If in the first 2 weeks that's not for you, very happy. That's why your investment is minimal, but also you have checked it for yourself. So I'm inviting people. Think of maybe a colleague you work with. Maybe it's a sibling. Maybe it's your parent. Maybe it is your spouse. Maybe it's your child. Whoever can benefit. This is for adults only. Must be over 18 years. It's not for kids. But as long as one is over 18, this is a program that can help. It's equivalent to the therapy that people go to, and one therapy session costs $5,000. So this is very fair, and it's our effort to make sure that this is accessible and this information reaches as many people as possible. So that is your gift to you tonight. So that is what I wanted to share today. I said at Catholic, we provide mental health solutions. We are a one-stop shop. So these are some of the other services that we provide. We provide treatment for all mental health conditions. We treat and also rehabilitate people who use substances. And we provide trauma and grief processing. We've had, and I'm sure many people now are familiar with the word trauma. It's not just that shock trauma of being hit by a car or experiencing something very traumatic that you saw at one time. What the trauma we process is what we call complex trauma. And these are the things that repeatedly we go through, sometimes not even knowing that it's bad, but we know our body or emotions are feeling it's dangerous on the inside and we want to get out, but we are actually not able to do that. Whether it is domestic violence, intimate partner violence, or things like abuse, sexual, emotional, mental, but most importantly, neglect. That emotional neglect that people experience that causes them a lot of pain and grief, including the losses, significant losses. We process that here at Catholic, and we provide therapy and counseling both for individuals, couples, and families. So feel free to reach out or to refer anyone requiring those services. Those are some of the other services that we provide here. Our capacity here at Catholic Center, we have a 30-bed capacity, and we are able to admit both men and women. And we are actually NHIF accredited, and we have partnership with other insurances, which makes it, our dream was really to make this accessible to Kenyans and even beyond Kenya, because right now we have technology and we are able to leverage technology to deliver most of our therapy services. So that's how you connect with us. Hold on. You'll be able to see our contacts there. Feel free to either connect with us on phone, on text, or WhatsApp. Those are mobile numbers, our email, website, and also how to get to us. All right. Questions about any of this information, feel free to share your comments or feel free to share your feedback in any of our social media platforms that are shared there. But thank you for your time, and I hope this was useful. Join us for the next webinar in 2 weeks. We are going to do this every other week so that we sensitize the public, but most importantly, we share insights that people can continue and start to implement right away. I thank you for your time and for joining tonight.